So let's start the study of history of European history and the Near East. The Near East is the area like Iraq or Turkey that is called in the modern day Near East and the Europe. So we will study the history of the Europe and that is the how this use various tools to generate the history. I am Dr. Mumtaz Khan and I will present this lecture. So basically, the table of content is related to the scientific tools and how they describe the early civilization, okay, and the Egypt and the Mesopotamia and Assyrian and Persian empires and the Greek and the Alexander Skander from the Macedonia and his relationship with the Persian Empire and the Roman Republic, rise of Roman Republic and the Roman Empire, and then the Byzantine Empire, the Germanic tribes, Holy Roman Empire, and then the split of the Roman Empire, French and Germany and various UK monarch and Italy, and then the fight between the Pope, and that was the usually the kingmaker and the real control of this 1,000 years post the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of the Habsburg family in the Spain and the Central Europe and near Germany and the Austria and in some holdings they have some holdings in the Italy, modern day Italy, and the early rise of the monarch and the struggle for the power that led to the early Renaissance, that is portrayed as the Renaissance, and the rise of the nation state in the second colonialism. And then the tools they have used, the European researchers, the monarch historians used to develop, that was the theory of evolution, and then the paintings they constructed various paintings and write the history and the carbon they write the carbon dating based history and DNA studies, modern day studies, and the linguistic evidence is also the old one. Modern day historians will be using the machine learning tools for the facial and body pattern analysis and the apparent facial pattern analysis. Buildings and construction style also give evidence about the various civilizational or distinct civilizations. Chronology is also a modern day study of how to understand the environment of the past and the fall of various civilization. And then we have a potassium organ dating that is used for the understanding the life of the fossil, and the paleomagnetism is used to study the environment magnetic changes, and the amino acid racemization is also used to study the fossils and the old tissues, and ice core analysis is used to study the past environmental changes, and GIS maps are constructed to generate very narratives of the history. So first of all, you see this monkey man. It is called a Neanderthal man. Although there's claim that these disappeared 30,000 years ago, and but the regeneration of this, the facial map, is actually there can be early mans present in the humans. We cannot false this statement, but regeneration of the facial map like monkeys is just a narrative. Even we find the skull, we cannot say the face must be like the monkey as shown in this Neanderthal man. This is a more narrative to prove the history wrong. And actually, how I will prove in the subsequent lectures that this is the opposite, this is the different way of thinking, because there was a fight between the monarchs and the church in the Europe. So the church presented the Adam concept of Adam in the through the Bible, and so therefore there was a no way to left with the monarchs to prove that there was no Adam and there were many monkey-like men, and then they presented the evolution theory. So there is a politics behind the evolution theory of the evolution, and there is politics between the concept of this Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. You see the actual pictures or actual various sculptures which are discovered in the past are like the picture shown in the right, not in the left. The left is for the public to give them impression to prove the church wrong, and the right is the actual. You see, in the actual there is the human discovered in the sculptures or in the various idols. These are more realistic than the humans. They can be fed, yeah, but the shape is not like the you see like the monkeys and the other things, creatures. So the early civilization, as stated in the Egyptian, as found in the human history, is the was the Egyptian civilizations, and that was consisted of two parts: Upper Egypt and the Lower Egypt. And these you see various great pyramids. Everybody's know that the pyramids were discovered. And then the history, this Egypt history is divided into three episodes. The first was the early, early episode, and the Middle Kingdoms, and then the last kingdoms. The usually the Musa and the story of the Israelis. These are usually the last part of the uh, Egyptian history, where the king was considered to be like a god, and they have and there was other some deities, and then the Akhenaton, he presented the concept of sun god, or it is believed to be he was monotheistic, and he was believing to be a one god, but his reforms couldn't his reforms couldn't survive after his disappearance, and then the Egypt continued worshipping the deities, and then it led to the fall of the Egypt around 1000 BC. And then there was the civilization near the Iraq and the Persia, that is called Fertile Crescent, and the Sumer and the Akkad, and these cities were the uh, very prominent cities. The civilization started near the Persian Gulf, and then it spread to the along the Tigris River and the Euphrates River, and then it's went to the eastern part of the Turkey, and then along the Mediterranean Sea, and to Syria and the Jordan and the Palestine. So this civilization was the civilization that present at the time of Ibrahim, and Ibrahim was part of this Nineveh or these cities. So that was part of the early this Fertile Crescent Mesopotamia civilizations. And actually, this is the civilization of the East, but Europe is trying to fit into this civilization. But because they were against the Bible and the religious concept, that's why the monarch always want to fit into to more, uh, because this civilization turned into the worshipping of the idols, and the humans. The one God concept was not there, and the Europe ideal is to against the is not a Christ based or church based. Rather, they want to oppose because they uh, snatch power from the church. That's why they have to give a narrative that is against the narrative of the church or even the concept of one God. So this was the civilization was very developed and ziggurat. This is the present at the Ur, and you see it's discovered it's in the built around 2100 BC. Okay, so this is present in the modern day Iraq. So this is the civilization of the Iraq, not the civilization of Europe. But Europe claimed to be the civilization, that this is our civilization. So it can be ideological link, but it cannot be civilization. The civilization belonged to where it was present, not where you feel the civilization is. So after the around 1000 BC, both civilization, the Egypt and the Mesopotamia, fall. The Egyptian state was more strong because it lasted more. But in the Mesopotamia, many states appeared and disappeared from 3000 BC until 1000 BC. Then another empire that was established in this area, that was called the Assyrian Empire. Assyrian Empire started in the eastern Turkey, or the western Iraq, and then it spread into the it united the Egyptian Empire, and then it also united the um, this Mesopotamia into a new civilization, into new empire that was called Assyrian Empire. So you see, the human civilization is one civilization. Sometime it emerges from one and then it's disappeared after 1000 years or 500 years whatsoever. And then the new tribes and new powers emerges and then they unite the old city states and the small states into the bigger state. So you see, this Assyrian Empire was present till 671. And then after the fall of this Assyrian Empire, the nearby area was the, you see, the Persians. So the Persian Empire was rise of the Persian Empire, you see in the Persian Empire. So the Persian Empire started from the Pakistan. You see the near the even the Sindh part of the modern day Sindh, and Balochistan, and even the Punjab. So you see the 80% of Pakistan is part of the Persian Empire. That's why there's strong footprint of these Persian languages, that culture, with the Punjabi, Balochi, and the Sindhi language, and then the Gandhara. So 80% of Pakistan is part of this. And then the other corner of this civilization is stretched to the Turkey and till to the eastern part of the modern day Greece. So the Greece settlements, you say the Hellenistic settlements, these were part of the Persian Empire in the Turkey and even in the Greece. So the thinking, you see, so here is the, you see the modern, the cities like the Sparta, Athens, which are advocated as the separate civilizations and states. These were actually the small states, and these were not actually the states that were part of the Persian Empire. These were Persian provinces. Even the Persia was influenced on the Sparta, wage war on the Athens. So these cannot be considered as a separate states or influential states, where rather these were the client state of the Persia. And the poetry discovered in the Greece is the poetry that is present in the Persia and in the Iraq. So the culture, languages were, and the poetry and the fashion was all belong to the Persia and the. So you see poetry, and this poetry found in the Persia is similar to the found uh, in the Iran. Okay. Here you see, this is the image that is supposed to be called Athenian Navy, that is advocated, but when you get to the detail, this is the image that is reconstructed with the help of some graphics and not the actual images, to give impression that Athens were a separate entity. Okay, there can be war between the Athens or the Persia, but it cannot be considered as a separate civilization, because the civilization was Assyrian and then the Persians at that time, because the Persia went far to the Assyrian Empire. They united all the Egypt, Assyria, Turkey, so into one empire, and even the part of the Africa that you see in the map, sorry, in the part of the Arab. Okay, so this was a more powerful state of that time, that is 600, around 600 BC. And the Greek language is also, the alphabets were discovered in those areas, that is called the Bablos and Sidon, Tyre. So along the Mediterranean River, and these areas were part of the uh, Persian Empire. So that's why we cannot say that the Greeks were a separate land and entity at that time, and a powerful entity. Then comes the Roman history. So we can say a new power center began to emerge in this part. that is currently called Italy or Spain. Okay, so the Egypt history started from 2500 BC till 1000 BC, and the Mesopotamia started from 3000 and then 2000 BC or 1500 BC, and the Assyrian Empire rise from 1000 BC and fell into 600 BC after its peak, and then the Persian Empire rise around 700 BC and fell from 50 BC, and then around the 200 BC or 150 BC, the Roman center began to evolve as independent. But the Greek center cannot be stay independent. And the Greek philosophers are not Greek philosophers, rather we say the Persian philosophers, because that was the part of the or the client states of the Persian Empire. Okay, so in the areas near the Greek or the Turkey or this the Bosphorus Sea, the cannibalism and civilization, Minoan civilization emerged that through the human cannibalism, and they kill the humans and they sell their meat in the market, and that's why the civilization possibly fed. And the evidence of cannibalism is present in the historical books. Okay, the Greek city-states or their center was their history is parallel to the Persian Empire around 600 BC and then fall in 350 BC. So that's why it's a strong argument that the Greeks were not a separate entity, rather part of the Persian Empire. And then the Macedonia king Sikandar or Alexander came from the Macedonia. He turned and went to the north, to the Nordic nations. Rather, it came to the Egypt, and then it came to the Iraq and the modern day Iran. So all these areas were part of the Persian Empire of that time. So that's why you cannot say the Sikandar Alexander was a separate person. Rather, he was part of um, the modern day the Persian Empire of that time. Okay, so then the Roman Republic was formed around 350 BC, and that was a separate entity, but doesn't belong to the Alexander. It was a separate entity, and it fell into 50 BC, and then after that, a Roman Empire was established. That was a huge empire, and then the civilization started in the part that is called the Mediterranean civilization, because Mediterranean this civilization was built around the Mediterranean Sea. And then the Christianity spread, and then the Roman Empire was felt around 300 Common Era, and then it split into the Byzantine Empire, and the second part that was under the control of the uh, Germanic tribes. Okay, so the Byzantine Empire fell into the Ottoman Empire because 90% territory, 80% territory of the Byzantine Empire belonged to the Ottoman Empire. So you cannot say that the Europeans are the are belongs to the Roman empires or the Byzantine Empire. Rather, the Ottoman Empire is the successor of the Byzantine and the Roman world, while the western part, that was a small part, the modern day French and the German or Spain or the UK, these current Western Roman Empire, actually these were not Western Roman empires, because there was no empires, rather the area was separated into various uh, cities or the towns, or and the Pope was used the power in that area around after the post 300 BC till the rise of the Charlemagne. Okay, so the Justinian is basically is the head of the Rome. You can say is the great king in the uh, Byzantine Empire, early Byzantine Empire, and and then the Augustus. He was the famous person in the Roman Empire, and the Caesar was the very famous person in the Roman Republic. So these are different three states and with different people. So the image that is presented here of the Alexander is the fabricated image, and is not a real image. Rather, it's sculptures that were created, and this painting that was created during the uh, post-Renaissance or during the Renaissance of the 16th century. So these are all the fabricated history, or that is supposed to be uh, a more a narrative than a history. because Skandar was not a European. He at that time he was part of uh, the Persian Empire, and Macedonia was influenced by the and because there was no Romans at that time. Like a Roman rise came after the fall of the Persian Empire, near the fall of the Persian Empire, and and the Romans, in fact, are were not the Europeans. Actually, Europeans destroyed the Romans, as we will tell in the subsequent history. So you see, this is the Roman Empire and the green, and then all the Roman Empire, the eastern part of the Roman Empire, that was Turkey or the Syria, Egypt, and the Palestine, or in the okay. So all these part that was later became the Ottoman Empire, or mostly these were part of um, the Abbasi Caliphates. These were the Romans actually. The modern day Roman Europe think this Romans were us. In fact, they not, because when the Roman Empire fell, as you see, this was fell into the Byzantine Empire. So the Constantinople was there in the area. The mm, western part was more fell into Germanic tribe, that Aussie growth, and I will see and tell you in the subsequent lectures. So basically, the Europe, that is the modern day Europe, that is considered to be the four peoples: Slavs, Hellenistic, Romans, and Germanic. So the Hellenistic is considered to be just not a Turkey or the Greek. These were actually in the Romans who constructed the civilization, the first Roman Empire, not the Slavs or Germanics, or Romans or Spanish. And the Spanish people actually, and the Germanic people actually, they destroyed the Roman Empire in this third century BC, AD. So you see, these are the Western Roman Empire, that is called Western Roman Empire, but actually it's not Western Roman Empire. It fell into the various tribes, that Ostrogoth, or the Franks, or Burgundy, or the Visigoths, and okay, see, all these tribes are Germanic tribes that later make the nation states. So this picture shows the rituals that performed by the Romans, because they don't believe like the Christians believe, and their belief systems were different. So the fall of the Roman Empire was done by the Europeans. The analysis of history tells me that Europeans were not same people as Romans, because Romans believes are different gods, and then the Roman Empire, that uh, that is Byzantine Empire, and they adopted the Orthodox Christianity. These were the Romans, but especially not the monarchs of the Europe that led to the modern day nation states. So the western part of the Roman Empire was divided into, after the fall of the Roman Empire, into the Byzantine Empire, and the western part was not Byzantine. Rather, it was many different states, and then the Pope was the central power in this area. The eastern part went into the in the 17th century into the Abbasi Caliphate, and Spain went into the caliphates of Cordoba. Okay, so the Roman Empire was actually the empire in the Greek and the Turkey, and you see the modern day Turkish people, and in the Greek people, they have shared many similar physical features. So the modern Europe is basically the built by the Franks or the Pope, and then the separate between the Pope and the French. So this is the Pope Leo. It was the is a key figure in the Catholic Church in the 11th century, and during the during the Crusades. And Alfred the Great, that is the is also part of the church hierarchy, or the part of the Pope people. And the detail from the Grace ministers is Charlemagne, who was the 8th century king actually. that was also coronated by the Pope, but it was the central figure in the Central Europe around the Germany. So after the fall of the Roman Empire in the third century AD, the Pope was the central figure till the 8th century when the Holy Roman Empire was established and the Carolingian Empire was established. The different names, but area was usually the Germany, and the French and some part of the Italy. This was the right figure show the throne of Charlemagne, and he was considered the father of the Europe because it ruled large part of the Europe. But the important thing is he was under the Pope. Pope was the central figure. This is the picture of the Charlemagne, and he ruled from 768 to 814. And the Louis 9, he is canonized as the saint by the Catholic Church in 1297. He is a medieval king and considered to be a good man. Okay, and because he set some uh, important role for the vassal states. So this the King Charles in the modern during the Renaissance era. So Charles struggle with the parliament resulted in the English Civil War, and this is the modern in the fly area during the Europe was flying started to fly. These are the picture people of that time. This is Henry IV, that was the king, and because in the Europe there was, especially in the France, in all these Spain, France countries, you cannot become even king if you are different faith because French was usually the Catholic country. So this guy Henry, so Henry have to change his sect from his religion, so he has to adopt it to become a Catholic, to become the king. Because if you see, the Europe was not advanced in the principles and the human values at that time. This the parallel era in the Mughals in Hindustan, and there was no such condition to become a king, to become to have a religion. You can have your own faith. Many Hindus were part of the Mughal court, and they were Hindus, and they have their own religions. But at that time, European even kings have to adopt the religion, and there was no subject which have different faith than the king, or the king is a different faith. They believe 100% same faith people. There was no religious diversity. Then came this is the early colonial period. And you see the Ignatius of the Loyola pictured was the founder of the Society of Jesus, commonly known as the Jesuit. These are the people of the Renaissance era, famed for his missionary work, commitment to the education, and dedication to the Pope, because it was the time when the monarchs challenged the Pope. So that's why the church started in 16th century. They started various reforms, and he was one of the guys. So the early, you see the Habsburg family united they withdraw, they first colonialized the Spain, because last 800 years the people and there was Christians living in Spain during the Cordoba Khilafat, Muslims and Jews. There was diversity. But when the Habsburg family captured or colonialized the Spain, uh, they overthrow all the Jews and the Muslims, and even no other religion was acceptable. And then the Department of the Inquisition was started that convert, or then the suspect, even those who change the religion because of fear, they suspect them, they give them punishments. And this family was also have holding in the Austria, Germany, okay, and some part of Italy. And then the first colonialization was the Spain, and then they started navigation to the other areas, and they captured the first for the Portuguese, who captured the Brazil, modern day Brazil, and some areas in the Africa, as shown in the picture. And then the in the small picture you see the area of the New Spain and the Newcastle. These were captured by the Spanish. Okay, so that's the initial in the 15th century, 15th and the 16th century. These were the initial colonies of the Europe. And that was done, started by the Spain, and Spain actually was also a colony and started from the Germanic tribes of the Habsburg family. So the Spain itself is a colony, and then the colony is spread into the Brazil and South America and some part of the Africa. And so this is the image of the Christopher Columbus that was vandalized, and people protested that he was the he was the father of the colonialization, immorality, and the status of Junipero Serra and Golden Park in the San Francisco was also torn down in the 2020 by the protesters because these people are considered to belongs to the human uh, bad thing for the human civilization and human race because they started the colonization. And then the settlement between the Portuguese and the Spanish, they were because they were also fighting with each other for the control. Then they reached the America, South America, where they killed the Inca people, Inca civilization. Okay, and these were people were different. They defeated in the war, and they captured their lands, and they killed them mostly because after the capture of the North America, South America, the diseases spread like the Black Death. First, they killed the original Europeans, and then the death moved mm, to the America. So you see, there is a pattern of the Black Death in the 16th century, and then uh, the death into the America. So the Renaissance is supposed to be started from the Sicily and Italy because the Sicily is the prior colony, is the prior ruled by the Muslims, and the knowledge and the tools and scientific method spread from the and Sicily to the from the Muslims to the and Italy and from the Spanish Muslims Spanish to the Spain and then mm, to the Europe. Because at that time there was no Europe. There was tribal small city states that the Renaissance spread from these centers. So after this modern, this post 16th century, the Germanic tribes and their subsequent people, they started to question the church, and they were very keen and they started to they study everything from the rational perspective. So here is the Renaissance, and they study the anatomy and the Machiavelli people, Machiavelli, like the Machiavelli, he was the Italian, and he wrote the Prince, and now the minds were starting to open. And this is the Martin Luther. Actually, the Martin Luther was he's presenting his thesis opposing the church and demanding things that there were many things wrong with the church because he was many German princes were backing Mr. Martin Luther. So this was the representative of the Germanic princes and the European monarchs against the church. The church started to lose, but church also started to modify it and also presented his thesis. So you see the Thomas Aquinas. He presented that the logic and the and logic and the philosophy and theology can be the same. Okay, so Peter Waldo is also the initial pre-Renaissance. He stressed the reading of the scriptures, uh, and then the Ulrich Zwingli, he was Swiss theologian who was pastor of the Great Presbyterian Church in Zurich. He emphasized the simplicity. So these were the reforms movements from the church side, and this Jesus painting, and the John Calvin. He was also he in Christian Institute of the Christian Religion he founded, and he gave the idea of predestination and the absolute sovereignty of the God, and his ideas were also spread. So these were the movements that were reforms in the church. So these were the European monarchs. So initially, the Henry VIII he advocated for the uh, Church of England. So he initially divided the church and made a new church to make his new wife, because there was no permission for the remarrying or divorcing a woman in the Catholic concept. So that's why he built the new church and he became the head of the church, Church of England. And then he married second time and third time and the fourth time. And he also divorces. He gets argument from the Bible of divorcing his first wife. That was the wife of his late brother. And then the Queen Elizabeth is the daughter, I think, is the daughter of the Henry VIII from his second wife. And he divorced his second wife, pretending that she was not loyal and okay, she has some, boyfriends, something like that. And then the Henry II, Henry II is the king of, he's the initial era in the 12th century. But Henry IV is the modern day post. He's the king during the Renaissance, advocating against the church. And then the Queen Elizabeth is the advocate of the uh, Britain nation, because she that was the era when the famous poet started to write in the English. In the Latin, instead of Latin, they started to write and teach in the English language. And then the reforms emerged in the initial reforms were in the painting and the writing of the history through the paintings in imaginations, and then they created the link with the old history of the Roman history, the reconstruction of the Roman history for the considering early civilization of the Europeans. But at the same time, during this century, especially the 14th century, many battles were being fought between the England and the French. Okay, so and that was the initial time when the monarchs were fighting with each other in the 12 or 13 or 14th century, after their defeat from the Muslim during the Crusaders in the 13th century. From 10th century to the 12th century, they started fight. The monarch and the Pope was united, and they started wars with the various empires in the east for the capture of Jerusalem. That is called the Crusade. But when in the 12th century they were expelled from Jerusalem by the Salahuddin Ayyubi, then the post they started to fight each other, and especially the French, Frank, and the English kings. And later in the 14th century, the medieval university started teaching Bible, and this is the initial teaching of the Bible. And the bachelor was considered the person who just listen the 10 to 15 books, and then subsequent 20 or 30 books for the master. And those who delivered the lectures, that was considered to the PhD. So these are the important church figures of various times. The Saint Louis is the initial who was writing the narrative of the Christianity and adopting the by the state, creating the central state of Holy Roman Europe. and the Shalmi state, and then the subsequent Carolingian state, and then the Pope Augustus. These also initial figures who started these various chapters of the Bible, and the Pope Innocent, who is the second and 13th century or 12th 13th century Pope, and then the Boniface VIII. Actually, that was the early time when the monarch started fight with the Pope. Initial, he was Mr. This Pope Boniface, he was victim by the French king. Cardinal Richelieu, this was also in the 16th, 17th century, and this is the official portrait. He was church figure. This Mr. Swano Narola, he also created a state in 14, established a Christian republic, but failed later on. And Pope Alexander VI excommunicated him. So the spread of the Black Death actually is supposed, and that is supposed that it started from mm, the roots. That was the land routes connecting. That was the Silk Road of that time. But there was no death in the East. The death was only in in the modern day Europe. So, but blame is put on the trade routes. But if the trade routes carry the disease, why not? It's affected other parts of the world. But so only the Black Death affected mostly the European part and spread from Italy to that is supposed to be spread from Italy to the Europe, and it lasted for 300 centuries. Actually, in my understanding, this was the internal problem, not the trade route. So the European peoples, some Europeans' language are supposed to be uh, part is called Indo-European languages because the English or the Spanish or even many languages of the Indian Persian. So these are the similar language. So it cannot say that European civilization is a distinct civilization. But yes, you can say the European modern day European rise is the distinct, but the old human civilization is connected through evidence by the this language evidence. Okay, so this is the in the end. I would like to say that the current world order is set by the Germanic tribes that led to the rise of the initial nation state of the French and the England or the Spanish. Actually, Spain is actually not the Habsburg family. Habsburg family first uh, overthrow the 800 years rule of the Arabs and throw those peoples out of the Spanish peninsula and colonialize it first, and then they colonize the South America, and they got the concept of the colonization spread into the other countries. But initially, the Romans are the Hellenistic people that are present in the Syria, in the Jordan, in the North Africa, and in Turkey and the Greece. These are different people from the Germanic tribes, and these are also different from the Slavs. These are Russian or the Belarusian. These people, the people from Poland. Okay, the Hellenistic people belong to the Assyrian Empire, Persian Empire, or the you can say the Seljuk Empire or the Egypt. So these are not the Europeans. Actually, the Europeans want to fight these people with the Turks. That's why they created idea that these are us, not them. But in fact, in the Greek or these are these people more in the skin and in the color or in the pattern. These are more to the Near East because the church want a separate uh, church. The European monarchs want to get power from the church. So that's why in the 16th century they give a concept of evolution. And because church has a God, that's why they they give a theory of evolution and the modern day materialism and atheism. And that movement is basically no God movement. That is the modern day. Uh, that is called the liberalism. That is advocated by the Germanic tribe states. And then the material progress is there, but small. But material progress is more in the Germanic tribes, king modern states, and the clause and the no clause, because the Christians believes on hiding the body, but modern day states of the from the Germanic tribes, uh, early mm, French or the modern day movements, that's why they advocate for the less clause. There was a pop slavery in the Christian Europe, and there is a modern day slavery in the modern world, in the modern movement. And the money worshipper is started by the Germanic tribes, and that was the Jesus worship. And solution to the human problem through Bible, and then the solution through material laws. So that is the fundamental difference. So in the nutshell, we can say that the modern Europe emerges from the fight between the monarchs and the church. The church is the loser, and the monarchs are the winner. But then later on, the monarchs also uh, have to share power with the parliament, and the another 18th century and the 19th century was the centuries that led to the fight between the monarch or the kings and the parliament. And now the modern day, even the monarch or the parliament is the losing, and the companies that were originally built by the royal families of various monarch uh, sons. So these are the dominating. So that's the history, whole history of the Europe. Thank you very much.